We're back.
Woohoo!
we Internet's been kind of funky here, so are we actually back?
I see that one is scheduled.
Well, we're on Twitch. And now we're live on YouTube. Okay, there you go.
Cool.
All right, we're live. We're back.
Woohoo! Anyways, my point. I think, like, my prediction I'll make, 2026. I think we're gonna have, like, I hope it's in the background going on, but I think the real thing that'll make a huge splash in tabletop next, I think, is whenever we get a truly, like, very popular digital tabletop game. I think that is the way the market would want to go, largely because publishing is expensive. And
Yeah.
especially as it's getting more and more expensive, I can easily see some companies and some realizing maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe if we go super hard in like an all digital thing, it's why like Ember, the Roll 21.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about it.
Me too.
But that is right. Or is that Foundry?
It might be Foundry.
I think it's Foundry.
I think it is Foundry.
Yeah, like that idea, I think is a really strong one. And I'm curious to see how that happens because the idea of like, what if buying a tabletop game was less about like, let's buy a PDF thing, work with all this. What if it comes to that point of instead of buying a core book, you're buying a like a VTT service that is something they made for their game. And then you're running something virtually like that. When could it get to that point? Because I think that is a next step. And more cynically, I think it's a next step because it's so much easier to monetize. Think how easy it would be to add on that digital DLC to your tabletop game.
I mean, tabletop's already kind of a DLC market because new books come out and new rules and everything like that. So it's kind of right for that. Yeah, I mean, it would be good if it was better. I love Pathfinder's Foundry modules. I think it runs super duper well, and I would prefer that for every other game. And if tabletop, the hard part in the only thing stopping it is tabletop is not super lucrative yet. It's more lucrative than it's ever been, but that's still marginally lucrative. So they would need to pay teams to go and program the program to work with their game. I think Foundry is really off in a good direction because Roll20 can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, and Foundry, you just plug and play your games essentially into the system. But Foundry has a big, asking price of $50 or something to get the program before then you can, start playing games that you may have to also buy. So we would need, it's probably going to be Roll20 because they do make a good amount of money. Roll20, funny enough, Roll20 I think makes more money than most TTRPGs combined besides D&D.
It's easier too. Like, it's just, I love Foundry so much, but Foundry is much harder as like if you had to pick a first VTT.
Yeah.
Roll20, you get a website, you get all this. For Foundry, you have to do this, you have to get all these mods, you have to learn how to host it, which like isn't hard if you understand computer stuff. But like if you're just like, I'm a tabletop fan, I'm not super tech literate, like I have enough to know how to run a VTT and I want to learn. Foundry is a lot more steps and a little harder barrier of entry.
Yeah.
Which is why like I think it would be a good move if somebody in the field sat down and tried to genuinely create something that's like the Steam of tabletop games. So we have drive-through RPG, which is great. But the idea of like Steam has its monopoly because it's really easy to use. It is super frictionless.
Yeah.
And it offers a better service for a consumer.
And for companies to publish to.
Yeah, there's a lot of tools that are good. Like there's a lot of the only real issue point a lot of people have with Steam on the publisher developer side is how big of a cut Steam makes. But on the other hand, they also give you a complete online framework to make online play really easy. And they also make it easier for controller support. There's like a lot of back-end tools that are much better and it's just easy. Meanwhile, the strongest competitor, Epic, in their store took, I think, a year and a half to add a shopping cart feature to their webpage. And their only big selling point is that every 2 weeks we give you a free game.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's cool, I'll take it, but like, I don't know, I'm not going out of my way to use the Epic Store launcher. If we had a thing like that I think would make it a lot easier to run, and then if we get into whatever position where it's like, yeah, now if you want to buy this tabletop game, you're not buying a core book, you're spending $50 on like a virtual thing.
Well, yeah, and just imagine more TTRPGs that had like a character creation wizard, where you don't have to read the book and figure out how to make your character. You can just go through a step-by-step program to make your character. My God, if Anima had that, oh, it would be so nice.
It'd be very good. Like, I would love if you made, like, because I think Roll20 is not great. Not Roll20, sorry, Dimension 20. Wait, no.
No, Roll20.
What? D&D Beyond, that's it.
Oh,
Jesus.
D&D Beyond.
Took me a while to get there. D&D Beyond, I think, sucks, unless you have a GM who shelled out a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But, like, its character creator is really easy and straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, it's got a really good system. Sure, it's really annoying as a character sheet, and it's laggy, doesn't run super well, is overall just kind of a pain in the ass. But if you had a thing like that for a lot more systems, it would be so cool, because I'd love to play more games, but the one hurdle now I have with online play is, all right, now let's deal with the horrible VTT sheet. I love the physical Anima sheets. I think the online one for Roll20 sucks so much ass.
Yeah. And Foundry is worse, so it's...
Yeah, that's scary.
It's... My anticipation, I don't think this year's going to be the year. I think over the next few years, probably 3 years, I would say, Roll20 is going to start becoming better and better. I mean, they bought out Demiplane Nexus recently, and that's a big, like, character creator Nexus website that you can make characters on. Kind of like a D&D Beyond-esque kind of site, but for more games.
I've liked Demiplane's character wizard. I think it's pretty good.
And Roll20 bought it out, and now you can import characters from Nexus to your games in Roll20. And when a TTRPG company is big enough to buy other companies kind of in the relatively same field, that tells me, one, that there's some market health going on, and two, there's an invested interest in doing so. So I feel like Roll20 is going to get better and better over the next couple years, and they even recently just updated their site so it runs less buggy for people, because that's been a big problem for Roll20, is some people's computers just can't handle it for some ungodly reason.
It like eats a lot of RAM for most browsers, which are becoming like RAM sinks. And
right.
Like that is I think what the large problem is. It's just that needs to be offset, and it's worse when you have like any visual effect or anything going on, because then it's just eating more and more RAM.
Yeah. And then they'll get better, and then they'll become like the hub. And I think if any company is most likely to become the Steam, or not, I wouldn't say the Steam, but like the prototype Steam for TTRPGs, it's going to be Roll20. And then after that, other companies are going to start seeing the model and making their own versions. And then we just got to hope that there's a somewhat less greedy company that doesn't charge subscriptions for basic features, that just runs tabletop stuff for everyone, like pretty much how Steam runs, which is just, Steam is so unobtrusive most of the time.
Also, like, the other benefit I'll give on Steam is shout out to Steam for having the only customer service that I think is genuinely like all right for consumers.
Yeah, because
it is the only place I can think of where if you tell Steam in like that genuine moment of my account is hacked and like this shit was stolen, Steam will jump in and really figure it out and prosecute the person who did it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of elements where people are like, God damn, yeah, send the Valve, like the Valve SWAT team to go take care of them. That's why there's a big meme of help, help, my account was hacked. Don't worry, we've taken care of them. What do you mean, Steam?
Yeah.
I would love it if we had something like that. Just a really good, intuitive, honestly, from the start, I think all you actually need is a program. Specifically, it is a program, not a website, that is a meld of a storefront and an e-reader. Like, that's all I think you need at the start.
Yeah.
Because that would be so nice. You have like a super sleek digital library. You can sort all your books. You can make folders for stuff. Everything can be categorized and like put in. So you're like, yeah, I have all the World of Darkness books. Let me jump into Revised Edition. And then I have Revised Edition subfolder of like Werewolf, of Mage, of Vampire. You have something that organizes it really, really nicely for you. So you don't have to go through all that in a file tree. And then you can just browse the storefront, and it's got like a nice big old page as you're scrolling through a genre of fantasy, Western fantasy, you know, like the big cover art for each core book.
Yeah.
Like that would just be a really easy way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it takes to develop software, but I think if you just develop software that looks nice, works nice, and is essentially an e-reader with a storefront. I'm asking for tabletop Kindle, basically.
So I'm hopeful. I think the TTRPG market is opening up more and more, and if it becomes so accessible, then more people will play and more money will flow into the market. And now we have more competitors other than D&D. So, you know, start by already playing something.
I guess the game that would count as is Anima.
Anima, technically. We've been playing it for a month now, but we're actual first campaign is started this week, which is I'm super hyped for.
I'm excited. I really enjoyed how that session went.
Me too.
That was super fun. I'm excited. I mean, I'm also excited. Just I think I've made a fun character. I'm happy that people are having fun with him, and I'm excited to bounce off of everybody.
Yeah, all the characters have been pretty chill, which has been nice. So,
yeah, I'm excited too as time goes on, because the thing I'm genuinely the most excited about is like I've planned out like typical for long character things. My favorite thing to do in a game is the first session is usually this character at his worst, and I got a character that is like obsessed with his image. He's honestly a bit arrogant and like up his own ass. Not like to an extreme sense where he's like, I need the finest things in life. He's not obnoxious, but I hope it's come across that he is somebody who the first person he thinks of is himself in every moment. Another aspect is the idea of like, I want to hit that concept of putting on a cover of something of a man who's like genuinely at all points like kind of terrified, because literally stepping outside is dangerous.
Yep.
But then he wants to and needs to appear outside. I think the decision of making him drive is an element of that, because he wants to have this control, but he feels like he can't, and he would like literally die if he just full accepted it. And the idea of him kind of pushing past it, and eventually I want him to be kind of a badass, because I think obviously man in suit beating your ass with martial arts is just a vibe. It's a vibe that rules. But it'll be sick once I develop some key powers. Once I get all my key abilities and I can like gravity kick somebody. Oh my god, I'm so ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna do a lot with the world building, and I'm gonna do a lot with the characters and stuff like that. I'm gonna try to suck y'all in.
Yeah. I'm excited for this pawn shop guy. I already am like, hell yeah, this dude. Because obviously I've given him a lot of money.
You've given him effectively $6,000.
Yeah, I am a good person to have in your employ. Because, I mean, the reason, of course, is just to put him in a position of, if I cross this very rich man, then I lose my money. Like, I lose my tugboat of just money. So, you keep this guy happy. And I also hope it'll come into, if he doesn't try to scam me. I think it'd be very fun to have a shady dude, just like you gotta have the shady NPC, gotta have the criminal contact, and it'd be a fun route for him. Because I definitely plan to still chat with him and go to him to get like, hey, give me more secret illegal books.
Mm-hmm. I think it will be interesting. But yeah, coming back to the general TTRPG field, this year, like, I don't think I've yet to give my actual prediction for the year of how I think this year is gonna be. I feel like this year is gonna be the what's a good way to put it? Last year was like a big upset's not even a good way to put it. Last year felt like the beginning of change. Last year felt like things were getting shaken up a little bit, and it was a pretty big year for tabletop in general. I mean, there's just some really big names in the TTRPG field came out. There's a lot of very good projects like on the horizon. We have Sword World coming out, not this year, I don't think. Maybe they're starting their Kickstarter this year for the English translation and for a lot of the localization and everything like that. Granted, the unofficial translation is really, really good, so maybe it'll be a very short process. Who knows? But there's some other countries are trying to get into the TTRPG market. The level of interest in TTRPGs is it kind of dipped, but now it's kind of coming up a little bit slower than it has been before. Daggerheart really exploding onto the field was really good, and I gotta say, Critical Role's newest campaign, with the insanity that is like 4 parties of a bunch of people and Brennan Lee Mulligan running it rather than Matt Mercer, I think created enough interest where it's now one of their best seasons so far of their live plays, which is really good. And the Legends of Vox Machina animation came out, and that a lot of people are really, really liking that as well. So I think TTRPGs are going to be under the lens this year. And I feel like this year is going to be a testing year for, like, is this something that markets want to invest in? Let's see what they do. Daggerheart's going to be coming out with their expansions, and I think that's going to be a really good indicator on how interested people are in non-D&D games, which I think people are more and more so, especially because not only has D&D released a new edition that's not really a new edition, but also their Eberron stuff got like delayed, and they're just having D&D's just having problems, and that's only healthy for the rest of the market because other games get to shine in that. Also, I've seen more actually interesting TTRPG channels this last year, which is really good. The more people on YouTube talking about TTRPGs, the better. Mm-hmm. Draw Steel, I've been kind of hearing, honestly, I didn't hear a lot about it when it came out, but I've been hearing about it more and more. I just wish the book was better to read, because that I would have read it a lot more if it just wasn't making my eyes bleed. But Draw Steel is interesting. I don't think it's going to be as big as the people who like Draw Steel want it to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, like, because Draw Steel is something where I think it is a game. Its market that it's trying to grab, I think, is smaller.
Yeah.
And the kind of deal of the market it would believably grab are the people tired of D&D and don't want to jump over to a complete different game, something like Daggerheart. They don't want to jump over to that because that's not their vibe. They want to go for some fun action thing. I just don't think there's as many people out there who like Daggerheart. I think is an easier draw in for people who like the idea of tabletop but have never tried it, or like can get a group around because they're like, oh yeah, the Critical Role. This is like a really good example of the idea of a D&D game without playing D&D. Like, it's a great concept for that game. And then for Draw Steel, I don't think that exact vibe it's trying to go for is as prevalent in the marketing. where it's like, yeah, it wants to go for like a cinematic fantasy thing. And my first response when I heard the concept of draw steal was, okay, how is it doing that? What is it exactly doing? Trying to make you feel like you're in the Lord of the Rings movies. Okay, how is it doing that? And I think it is a game. I was surprised to see it wasn't as nitty gritty mechanical. And I think if it was a bit more mechanical, it would then drag people who are into that for D&D, and maybe some Pathfinder fans and like the people who like more of an action crunch.
Yeah.
But the fact it's so like a light cinematic, I think is probably its issue.
Also, hello, Natorshra. Yeah, honestly, what I'm discovering more and more for tabletop is it's a lot of vibe that runs a TTRPG and that makes people interested in it. Because I gotta say, my players liked Vampire probably a lot more than some of the other games we touched. Even though the edition of Vampire we played, it's not a very good game, if I'm gonna be honest.
I think the book is the worst part of 5th edition. Having read so many Vampire books, like so many, the core mechanics of 5th edition Vampire are such an actual strong point of that game. I think just the problem though is the actual character creation and like how characters are managed in the game is weaker. It's really weak, and it takes away the uniqueness, even though logically speaking 5th edition Vampires disciplines handle disciplines better mechanically, because you actually get significantly more options. You have so many more tools that you can do to flesh out your character, but it doesn't feel like that because it feels like you are streamlining away the uniqueness of things. Like, I don't feel like... I think the one element that came up was the idea of playing Adventure with a Salubri, where both had Dominate. So, like, what was the real difference between a Salubri and a Ventrue? And it didn't come across super strong. And, like, 20th Anniversary is my favorite edition of Vampire, because I think it gives you so many really interesting tools. The difference, though, is that Vampire 5th Edition is just... It has these dope systems, but it's so hard to parse because the core book sucks so bad. I've seen more and more of it. 5th edition Vampire's core book is genuinely, I think, one of the worst core books I've ever read. It is so bad.
It's pretty rough, though. The point I was trying to make is it gets by on the vibe. The book oozes the vibe of what Vampire is. And many of the player-facing rules, at least the easier ones, very much emanate the idea of the Masquerade and Vampire and everything like that. And that's why I think the book, I think 5th edition is probably the best-selling book of Vampire, despite it not being probably the most well-written.
It's the part that is so sad for me, because I have to defend 5th edition often on my channel, where every other book except for the core book is actually good. Like, it is insane how all of the side books are, like, laid out well, written really well, and in every single complaint I see where people are like, 5th edition Vampire doesn't have this thing, they ignored it. It's like, no, they do. Here it is in this book. It's an entire book to help you do that thing. They're just slowly re-adding in tools and, like, patching them and fixing them. I think the hurdle with a World of Darkness game is Vampire, Werewolf, Mage, all these games are not games you go in to be like, hey guys, do you want to play as vampires? You're going into a game like, we are going to play a World of Darkness game. And the games lose a lot when you're not engaging with it as a, like, hey guys, let's play vampires in the World of Darkness. I think that's a big hurdle, because unlike D&D where you can just be like, let's play a fantasy adventure, wahoo! I had to deal with that for like a one-shot I was doing, because I had a player who like didn't want to buy into the idea of being a vampire, and I'm like, dog, that is like the point of this. I'm sorry, but you have to be a vampire who is a vampire.
Yeah. Okay, the point I was trying to make is there's what I think for TTRPGs in general is it's about the vibe. It's about what they're projecting, and there's a lot of people who join in D&D who have a very specific idea of D&D. I like to view D&D, and a lot of people who kind of are casuals in the space of D&D, to be kind of like the Reddit personas of tabletop, where every character is like their fun little guy, fun interesting little person. You know, they see these fun tabletop channels like Dimension 20 or whatever, where the people are playing characters, you know, and they're playing interesting characters for their zaniness or for the, you know, this, that, or whatever. I know Moist Critical, he has I don't think they're even doing it much anymore, but their skill check channel was actually supposed to be like a D&D / magic channel at first, and now it's kind of more just a magic channel. But his character was just like, I'm this goo guy who's just kind of a cool guy, and I can jump into people, and I can talk to things, and make, like, I can talk someone's heart into stopping, and all kinds of stuff like that. It's just like a weird guy, a weird little guy. And a lot of people who've joined the hobby, I've seen, especially as someone who's run Adventure League, they just want to they want to have their own weird little guys in the field, and D&D is their perception of the weird little guy, because the world of D&D is just so weird and zany to people who don't know more about the Forgotten Realms. Baldur's Gate 3 really didn't help this, because they had the most flamboyant vampire they could have in the game, and then you can have a sex scene with a bear if you really want to. And many of the characters were, one, incredibly horny for no reason, but two, were just caricatures, you know. Gale, an interesting guy, but I am a charming wizard. That is his character in all its glory. Karlak, oh god, Karlak is, I am a bad bitch barbarian who's actually like as cuddly as a teddy bear archetype. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is dating somewhere with too many steps. Many of the characters are just that. They're characters. People inherently are not good at playing characters. You know, characters require writing typically to be good, because there's a lot more that needs to be considered. So D&D has become this kind of cesspool, is not a very nice way of putting it, but it's kind of just the idea of, it's where everyone is throwing their OCs into this pot and hoping to make a splash.
And yeah, like I mean, I've long said there's a high subsect of people that I don't think you like tabletop games. I think you like making OCs.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Like,
sure.
It's totally fine if that's what you want to do. Even like with that perception of D&D, like, I don't think it's an overall bad thing. Largely because, I mean, I don't have any hit from that, because the people I play with, the perception of that doesn't impact my games at all.
Yeah.
And I'm always of the position, like, more people in the hobby, hell yeah, sick as hell, means it's going to get bigger and we can get hopefully better projects. Because, like, there's a reason, I'll say, Baldur's Gate 3, the most popular and most built character in Baldur's Gate 3 is John Humanman with a human fighter. Like, that is the most popular build, and, like, character creator is just a average white dude. Because it's like, alright, I'll just play a guy. And I think it's a fun line in the sand for tabletop players. Of a lot of new people come in to, like, let me make the cool OC, let me make this. And then as you get on, you're like, I'm going to play a man. I am a human man who's just kind of chilling.
They meta themselves into John Human Man.
Yeah, like, you just play, like, I'm a dude with no supernatural powers. I have nothing that makes me special. It feels like that's a pipeline that happens, because it's just, I can't play the little guy anymore. This isn't me.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I bring this up is not to disparage people who do that kind of thing. I enjoy the fact that people are so interested in the hobby that they do this kind of thing. It's more of when companies then go, I'm going to make D&D but better, they do it the wrong way. I feel like Drawsteel did this. Drawsteel was Matt Colville's idea of, I play D&D to play a action hero, to be a badass and to be really, really cool. So he designed a game where you don't miss, you just hit less hard at worst or more hard at best. And all the abilities are amped up, and characters have more crazy abilities than like a low-level D&D character. And that's why I think Drawsteel kind of fell flat. DC 20, from what I've heard, hasn't fully released yet, but from what I've heard, is doing a lot of the same problem where they're focusing on the wrong aspects. They're focusing on the idea of the fantasy hero rather than making silly little guys in a game that feels more flavorful. But Daggerheart is a game all about making silly little guys. Many of the races you can play are just kind of goofy, like playing a ribbit or playing a fungus person or whatever, tiefling, all that kind of stuff. And they less emphasized the crazy hero action things, and they more of gamified, here's the things you can do with your cards and everything like that. And then they made a system that creates the swinginess of a D20 but is more consistent, which is brilliant, honestly. And what I mean by this is you roll 2d12, so statistically speaking you're going to get a decent result, more likely. Even if you succeed with fear, that's still a success. So essentially you're getting advantage on every roll, which is everyone's favorite roll from D&D. But it's just whether or not you succeed with fear or succeed with hope. And why this creates a swingy feeling is because succeeding with fear is going to feel very different than succeeding with hope. And so you play a game, when you roll the dice, who knows how the result is going to come out, and you get to play your fun little guys. And that's why I think Daggerheart, beyond just the normal aspects of it, which is being connected to Critical Role, did so well. And I think, actually, funny enough, the Cosme RPG is kind of doing. I think Stormlight was not their best game to start with. I think they should have started with Mistborn instead. But Mistborn's coming out later this year, so I feel like when Mistborn comes around, the Cosme RPG is actually going to get a pretty nice bump in the right direction.
Yeah, like, I think it's a good point on this, where when you're designing a thing, you're designing a game, one of the things you need to do first is pick, who am I making this game for? Because I think a totally fine answer is, I am making this game for myself. Because there's some really fun designers out there. Orbital Dropkick, I know is at least account name, who worked on Lancer and now has made a bunch of other little interesting games. There's like the heavy metal one, there's Kane is one of them, where all those games do is he's making it largely for himself because he likes the vibe he's created, and has like really strong art and really strong features, and everything is just kind of set up in a cool way. And that's what you're selling. You're selling just, if you like my shit, you like this, which is great. Then you have a lot of designers where the line really is, I am making a game for players like me. And you can have something like Drawsteel, where I think, mechanically speaking, if it was a lot more gritty and bumped up, it's going to draw a lot of people in. Because if you have that idea of, I'm going to make D&D for better, what do you think is better? Do you prefer the vibe of D&D, like what the core idea and distilled feeling of playing a D&D campaign is? That, I think, is a stronger thing to market and sell. And something like Drawsteel, where what you want to get in that type of design, I want to make a D&D, but it runs better, it feels cooler, mechanically it's better. Okay. And then people come in, they want to check it out, but it's kind of just another very light game. Where if it was a lot more crunchy, maybe even like a little more simple than Pathfinder, but crunchy and like impactful in its design, I think it would draw more people in. which is why it's really good as a creative team to have a lot of different voices with a lot of different interests on your side.
Yeah.
Then what you'll have is just a lot of different feedback, because I think you can make a perfect marriage of, hey, let's distill what like a D&D game feels like with mechanics that work, function, and feel really good to use. I think you can do that. Honestly, it's funny enough, I think Pathfinder is along the same line, because like Pathfinder's setting where you have this giant kitchen sink fantasy, when analyzing it on the lens of, does this world make sense? What could it exist in real life? Is this how it works? Not really. Kitchen sinks designs don't really make sense.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's designed in the way of, these countries are individual planets with zero cross contamination of culture, of technology, of anything. So it doesn't actually make sense. But what they're doing is selling, hey, do you want to make any type of character ever? Here you go. Here's all these fun things you can play around with. Yeah, you could be a centaur in this game. Fuck it. Yeah, sure, you can be an actually big minotaur. Hell yeah, dude. Go crazy. You're selling all of that, and the world is essentially, it's written justification, so you can just kind of hand wave it, because that's largely what you have to do with a lot of settings. It's just like, yeah, this wouldn't exist in real life. It's fantasy. Like, whatever. We have a loose justification, and then it depends how much, as a creative, you as a GM want to like obsess over and make it fully justified. But Pathfinder, I think, is doing that. It's selling the fun, crazy shit you can do with other ancestries and other classes. And that's a good route. I definitely think there could be a game out there that is easier to get into than Pathfinder for less experienced players, and has the same depth of content and depth of funny little guys to make, where you can have that distilled, I feel like I'm doing a fun fantasy adventure.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Pathfinder, because I was just thinking, and you pretty much hit the nail on the head. It's ironic because, especially after the remaster, they're like, okay, we're going to now move away from D&D as much as possible. But what Pathfinder does that kind of shoots itself in the foot is Pathfinder, they're doing everything they can to let you make the fun, silly little guys. But the system is just a lot more heavy up front. And so people who would be interested in making little guys in the game bounce off because they don't want to take those extra steps. We were talking about this earlier of it's all about accessibility and taking those steps, you know. There's a lot of people who do love Pathfinder and do love making silly little guys and really love the fact that Pathfinder lets you do it in a very meaningful way, a lot more meaningful than in games like D&D. But there's more people who are like, oh, look how big this book is and look at all this like stuff. I just kind of want to make a guy. And then they go to Daggerheart.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an element where I think you can work through it. And it's a fun aspect for Pathfinder where it's like, hey, ignore a lot of this. Let's make this really simple for you. It's the way of, every tabletop game can be learned super well if you have a GM who's like obsessed with it. And there's always the advice to get started with it to offset that. I don't think it's a great positive for your game if, to get most people into it, you have to have somebody obsessed with it and to tell a player, hey, don't engage with this stuff. We'll handle that later.
Right.
Because like, what Daggerheart and games like that do really well is you want a book that's really easy to parse through just at a glance, because the first thing you got to do when you're trying to get your audience as a tabletop game, you open the book. The first thing you do, you go to the classes. Go to the character creation rules. Fuck everything else. You start paging through it. And if you don't have a character idea jump out at you, then like what are you doing?
Yep.
Because Daggerheart, that happened. I think I had a fun character concept for Daggerheart. I've read through the Drawsteel core book. Some of it looks cool. I don't know. Nothing jumped out at me of like what to play. Pathfinder, that happens. I look through a Pathfinder class and I'm like, oh fuck, that sounds sick as hell. I have like character ideas and everything's jumping out. Largely because I understand the rules, but I think it is there can be a sweet spot.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
There can be such a good sweet spot in that aspect. It just needs to find that really fun balance. And if anything, I think if it's going to be like grand market appeal, I think Kitchen Sink is kind of the way to go, because Kitchen Sink is just it gives the widest net of things for people to attach and like play with. And also the fun thing with kitchen sinks is if you don't like an aspect of the kitchen sink setting, you can pretend it doesn't exist. You're not really losing much. I mean, it's similar with World of Darkness, because, like, does World of Darkness make sense if you say that every single game line is existing at the same time? Not really.
No.
Does it get less fun and interesting? I personally think so. I think you lose something when you're playing a World of Darkness game and there aren't at least mages and werewolves and hunters and ghosts running around somewhere. It becomes a little less interesting for me.
Yeah. It's interesting, and you know, it's funny, there's another game out there that I think does the, hey, make your fun little guy in a very, like, easy to approach system. And it's a game that I get people commenting on and wanting more of my videos on. Lancer.
Yeah.
Because Lancer is very easy. The mech rule, like, you look at the mech license. A mech license takes like 2 pages. And you just get some things, but you get this really cool art of a mech. And the mechs all have a very specific vibe and flavor to them. And that's why I think a lot of people really like it. It's something where a TTRPG needs to project a vibe, and when someone opens your book, they need to instantly find something that they want to play. And if you can do those 2 things, you'll sell books. I promise. Before I continue on, because I saw this question a while ago from Nader. What thematic publication / gap would you like Paizo to explore with a book / content next? Which I think is an interesting question, because again, we like Pathfinder 2nd edition. We
love it.
We play the game enough, and honestly, now that I know how to run TTRPGs better, which is something silly to say considering I've been playing it for so long, but I relearning how to play after trying to learn a bunch of new systems. I feel like another Pathfinder game would be really, really fun, because
I would adore if down the line, when we wrap up with Anima, we want to take a break but still want to do like a long game. I would adore if we did a Pathfinder game that had that vibe of like the D&D adventure, like so much. Because like I think D&D, obviously not a fan of it here, not in this house, but the vibe of D&D is really fun. The idea of we're a bunch of essentially homeless weirdos who are like, who can fight and kill things. We start adventuring, and like less of we are important people in the world, but more like we're on a big grand adventure, traveling, exploring. We're stumbling into plot lines. Like the kind of like, this is a fiction series, like a fantasy adventure series where every book has a new plot. Like, the characters stay the same. The characters grow as they get on. They get power, more and more strong. But, like, it's a monster of the week, but it's a monster of every arc. Every arc is a different thing, and it's all laid out like that. It's such a fun vibe, and I would love that in Pathfinder. I would love it so much.
Yeah, as far as, like, new content or what kind of thing I want them to fill, I don't know. They do so much so well already.
They really do.
I'm always a sucker for occultists. Like, I think Thaumaturge is fine. I like the Thaumaturge, but I kind of just want something different culty than the Thaumaturge. It's very hard to explain other than just like, I kind of want a Call of Cthulhu-esque cultist rather than the Thaumaturge.
Yeah. I would love there's elements and ways to do this, but one thing I would love is I would love a really interesting martial battle mage type character that isn't the Magus. I would love that, because like I would love it if I felt like I was a very versatile character, and like Magus is, I think, trying to do that and doesn't fully land. I think it would be very fun to play a Spellblade. It's super possible, but I'd love a much stronger core thing that is a Spellblade. So like if they do some really fun magic things, I'd be hyped with that. Especially melding it with like martial. I love a martial caster, basically.
Yeah.
I can't think of a lot of other elements because I'm like, oh, what else would I want? I don't know. I'm a big fan of, like, obviously I'm a big World of Darkness fan. I'd love more like vampire, werewolf, like traditional thing like that. They already have that, but so like every time I go with an idea, I'm like, well, it already exists, or they did that book already. It's like they just do so much, and
they do so much.
It's hard to think of it until they introduce it.
Right. I think what I would want is more of a more of like the Final Fantasy cultivator stuff. I know they have cultivator already, but it's kind of not the same as what cultivators typically are in
a cultivator class,
like Xianxia stuff. So I want something like that where give me martial artist wizards. Like, actually, that's what I want.
Yeah, it'd be very fun. Like, I love Pathfinder, and also I do agree. The moment Necromancer is in, holy fuck, I am so ready to play. I don't care for how long or whatever. I am playing a Necromancer with a skeleton shotgun.
Yeah,
it's so sick. I love the Ozark weapons. I love the skeletons as the Necromancer. It's so fun. I'm really sad that it's gonna be so long. I want it now. I want to play them.
It's coming out this next year. It's coming out.
Yeah, but it's this
summer.
year. In summer. Ugh. So far.
We're playing anime.
I know it's so far, but I want the Necromancer now. I just want them to exist.
But yeah, so like if there's gonna be any like breakthroughs in TTRPGs, I think we're getting close to it. If I'm going to be honest, I think we're starting to see companies starting to recognize what actually makes TTRPGs really fun and interesting. We're seeing a lot of people miss the mark. Like I said, I think Drawsteel misses the mark. I think DC20 is missing the mark. I've seen a lot of games really miss the mark because what they do is not to provide a vibe, to provide something interesting or unique. There's a lot of people who are obsessing about mechanics, which, don't get me wrong, I love mechanics. I'm a very crunchy like player, not very crunchy, I should say, modestly crunchy loving player. But I want, when I look into a new TTRPG to pick up, to look into, to play, I want to be able to see myself playing an interesting character. That's what I want more than anything. And a lot of the time, I pick up a book and I'm like, oh, so I get to play a variation of the mage wizard cleric or warrior wizard cleric, from Tolkien. And that's very not motivating. So, it's kind of one of the reasons why I like Fabula Ultima, because I love the idea of mixing classes together to get something unique out of the combination. I just wish that game had a little bit more heft to it, and then I would enjoy it more. But I think there's games out there. I'm working on a game that I feel like isn't necessarily orientated towards the little guy stuff, so it probably won't sell as well. But what it does instead is every skill point, every time you improve something, it has a noticeable effect on your character. And so you can see, you start looking at different skills and stuff as like character choices. Like, what if I play a character who's very based on persuasion? Or what if I play a character who's very based on commerce? That kind of stuff. And it gives you ideas for what kind of character that you're going to play. And when I use my narrative crunch system to make my fantasy version, maybe rather than having skills, I'll have the skills represented by like classes instead. And then people can be like, oh, what if I play, a little bit of ranger with some dragoon in it, or a little bit of ranger with some wizard attached to it, stuff like that.
Yeah. Straight up, I think one of the strongest elements, which again, I think a proper and good answer for I'm making my own game is I'm making this for myself. But I do think you can, with the thing you've set up, in like the core method of your tabletop games, how they run, you could really easily give the impression that it's a little guy simulator while keeping true to the design. Largely, it's having a lot of varying and interesting like ancestries in it.
Yeah.
You come up with a lot of fun concepts and like a loose justification of why they're in the world. Boom. And then you add that on with fun mixing and matching of class. You have enough that like the people who love creating characters and making builds have toys to work with. You have enough that like it is also equally interesting to just be like, I'm going full ranger because these tools are fun. And also I can play I don't know, a sentient cube of slime holding a bow and arrow. Isn't that funny? And it's like, hell yeah, that is, brother. You don't even need the bow. You just stretch your slime out and shoot a projectile. Like, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
You hit that, you can make everything best of both worlds there.
To be fair, in my fantasy version, Thaumasite is Sky Islands that have only recently been connected by airships. So you could easily have characters who can justifiably live in the same world, even though they're so weird and unique. Because
then you can literally make it have the sci-fi feel of like each place is a different planet all to itself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so easy to add content to. We found a new island.
The world is massive, and Sky Islands drift in like these patterns and stuff like that. So you could be like, oh, we couldn't reach one before because of, we didn't have enough power to get to it, but now it's just coming into range, and what's this, a whole new continent in the sky, and it's gonna be here for the next 100 years, like
you could also have some of it justified, because if you get the response of well, excuse me, how are this many floating islands and land masses here, you could just be like, the world's a bit bigger. Because the lower gravity is helping with like floating islands.
Well, I do have a specific science for the world and how the islands work and everything like that. So, it's already done. Right now, I just need to make more, or I just need to make content. That's it. Like, I have most of the formula down already. It's just about writing the stuff down, and that's hard to do when you're a dad. So. But
that it is.
It's possible, and like my game system, I feel is very accessible because it's just a roll. Did you get bigger than target number? Yes, no. Okay, we're good. Not a lot of bonuses. Some bonuses, but not a lot of bonuses, and a much more higher emphasis on like rewarding narrative play rather than handing players progression, because I feel like handing players progression never does well for games, in my opinion. Players just start either not caring about level ups or caring too much about level ups. Pathfinder is such a bad game for that, because it's like, but my character's gonna be so much better when I level up 2 more times, and that never changes. Every time you get to that new level, you're like, but in 2 more levels, I'm gonna be really cool.
Feel that with like, it's the Path of Exile 2 kind of thing. Also, I've not heard of Rifts. And hello, Lucky Finds, good to see you. I will say, just looking up images of it, damn, that setting is kind of interesting. It's like very like fantasy kind of cyberpunk vibe. It looks like an older game too. I've never heard of it though.
I think I've heard of Rifts before, but it's nothing I've actively played. Yeah, this one. Palladium. Yep. Yeah, it's an old series. Hasn't really had too much in the recent TTRPG boom era, but it's essentially, all right, magic gets introduced to Earth. What happens? And we get a snapshot of that in like the future.
Huh. I mean, I've scrolled through a table of contents because I found a PDF of the Ultimate Edition, and that's a lot of classes. Like, goddamn.
But yeah, I mean, if anything, that's the kind of thing, right? That's a book that if like it grabs your attention and you open up and you find a class that you really meld with or something like that, is the key for success. All it is just about Like, I think we have the components for good TTRPGs to start being made. And I can't wait for, like, in the next 5-10 years to be flush with choices of, like, oh, this game, I really want to, like, to be back, like, in the 90s when these were coming out in more in full, and being like, oh, there's too many TTRPGs to play. Ah, they're all so good and so interesting. You know, I can't wait, because I think that's coming. I think TTRPGs are getting to that point where we have the sauce. Now we just need to make up the special mixtures to make something interesting and make something flavorful that people want to jump into. And with Daggerheart's success, I feel like that alone has opened up the way to indie TTRPGs really coming out there. And and funny enough, we talked about this super early in the stream, and it's funny that I'm going to touch on it at the very end. One of the few fields that it's really, really hard for AI to really interfere with is TTRPGs. Because thankfully, like, other than art, which, I mean, that's anything that has art, to be fair. But rule-wise and creating vibes and everything like that, there's just not enough sample material to mess with it, at least for the time being. So TTRPGs are going to be one of those few fields where if the art is not AI generated, people are going to be like, this is organic, this is real. Because we assume we won't even be able to tell what in gaming or whatever is real anymore, because AI is just going to get better and better at what it does. Maybe it might not. There's actually some talks about, like, we're kind of hitting the AI cap because of how much energy it requires to run AI, and because generally speaking, we're getting to a point where AI mostly all looks the same, and people are able to mostly tell AI from non-AI.
It's super easy to, even writing, if you understand some of the quirks of how AI writes, you can catch it every single time. If y'all want to have the fun one, it's not just M dashes everywhere. If it's specifically the two hallmarks of AI writing is anytime it's listing things, it always lists 3, and it'll always use the phrase, it's not blank, it's blank. Those two things are in everything. And the moment you see it, you're like, oh, this is all AI, isn't it? And also, it really loves single sentence paragraphs. Like, it just, new paragraph, a single sentence paragraph. Like, it's pretty egregious.
So it's gonna be interesting. I'm very looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. I think it's gonna be quieter than it was last year, but I think we're gonna I think this year is gonna be a hype year. And what I mean by that is we're gonna start learning about new projects in the works getting near completion that are gonna make TTRPG players more excited and more hyped for 2027 or 2028. And I think Daggerheart's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting this year. And I'm looking forward to Cosmere RPG's Mistborn coming out at the end of this year to kind of be like a really nice upswing at the end of the year to what's going to probably be a really fun year next, like 2027. So, yeah. But that's going to be it for us today. Thank you all for joining us for our first stream on the first day of the new year. I'm looking forward to a lot of this. And Alex, anything you want to leave us off with before we head out today?
Yeah, well, right once we end the stream, I got to get running because I have family over, or fiance's family. But yeah, I have good old content, good old videos. I put out, last one I put out was a fun time. Compilation of 2 years in the making of Vampire Clans from Vampire the Masquerade. Very fun. If anything, the entire project was just more enforcing, damn, I really hate my old videos. And it's real fun just seeing the progression as my shit gets better. But it's very fun. And I got a video in the works. It should be out in less than a week. A faction in Mage the Ascension. Good old, I'll just say, the Cult of Ecstasy. A video I am hoping doesn't get demonetized, because there's really not much way I can get around the fact that these are sex mages who have sex and cast spells. That's how they do their magic. So I gotta hope that YouTube's kind I'm a smaller channel, so I can get away with stuff more. But we'll see.
And thank you, Lucky Coin, for the super chat. Great content. We appreciate you. Speaking on content, I want to do more. Hopefully I'll do more. I know my mother is likely to be visiting more this year and watching our daughter for more. So if I can find any kind of consistency, I would love to start making content again. I want to cover the games that everyone has, been wanting content on. I want to finish up Fabula Ultima's classes. I want to get back into Lancer, look at all that stuff, and also finish up the Radiant Paths, which I really wanted to do. But this last year has been a lot of me asking myself, all right, I just got done watching the baby for 14 hours. Do I want to enjoy myself for a few hours, or do I want to work? And enjoying myself for a few hours is 1 hour more than working. It's hard.
It's better.
I mean, my hair's greasy because literally my daughter is teething, and she didn't go to bed till 1 a.m. and then slept only 5 hours, even though she should sleep like 10 hours. So
yeah,
that's just how it is. But that's gonna be it for us. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games, and we'll hopefully be seeing you a lot more this year.